oversaturate the mind. Giving you too much information could be bad. It causes some type of confusion in a sense. Like you're like, okay, well, I got this, and it's some type of anxiety, and I got to remember all this, and I got to remember all this, and am I going to remember that and all that? So that's why we say make sure that you know, uh, take some notes. Take some notes. Um, and forgive me if I go over on some stuff. It's not my intent. My intention is to help us, live better lives, by what we learn, because we're not a religion. We're not a religion. Can you guys see my screen?
No,
Yes.
No.
we just see an image.
Okay, so let me see.
And
Let me see.
my son asked what the image was.
Oh, my image? Yeah. Let's see. Let me see. Let me share it. Let's go right here.
Okay, now,
You can see it now, can't you?
yes.
All right, cool. All right, wonderful. Thank you. All right. All right. As I told you last week, what we want to do is we want to start communicating with one another in ways that fall in line with our culture, right? And so Hebrew greetings are very important. And these are things that you can use in your home when you're talking to one another. So one of the first things that you want to say when you get up in the morning is Boker Tov. Some people say Boker, okay, but it's Boker. Boker. Oh, did I put an extra? Yeah, Boker. Boker Tov, okay? Boker. Boker Tov. And Boker Tov means good morning. That's what it means. Boker Tov, okay? You might hear it as a K sound, Boker, and that's fine. Okay. People hear you say, some people may say Boker, which I don't particularly care for. That's someone who doesn't understand the language when they say they haven't been taught, somebody taught them wrong. It's improper to say Boker. It's not Boker. It's Boker, okay, or Boquer. Okay. Very soft sound, Boquer Tov, meaning good morning. The second word that you want to learn is what they call for good afternoon would be called Zaha. All right, okay, excuse me. Zaho Rayim. Zaho Rayim. Okay. Tovim. As you can see, that Tovim is goodness. The reason why it's not Zaho Rayim Tov is because anytime we have a plural on the end of a word, when we're describing something, we have to make sure that we highlight the same meaning. So if this is plural, right, then this right here should be plural too. This is an adjective. So we sahoraim, sahoraim. And it takes a little practice. Okay. Sahoraim. Okay. It's not yim, it's yim. Okay. Ra, and if you just spell it out, be like this. Yim. Okay. Sahoraim. Tovim. That means good afternoon. Okay. Good afternoon. I only want to give you three today on this. Last week it was Shavua Tov. Today is Boker Tov. Tzahod Rayim, Tovim. And here is Erev Tov. Erev Tov. And Erev Tov means good evening. Good evening. It's not good night, it's good evening. There's a difference between night and evening. Okay. Certain things you do in the evening and certain things you do at night. You don't sleep in the evening. You actually eat dinner in the evening, eat supper in the evening, you know? So when you learn these words like Erev and Boker and Zahorayim, it allows us to build on those other words. Like the word for, breakfast has to do with Boker. It does. And we'll get to that next week, right? And erev, when you eat something in the evening, erev is connected to the next word that would be connected to that. So what I'm giving you right now are pieces to a puzzle. That's all I'm doing. Okay. I don't have to show you the Hebrew letters. I don't want to oversaturate you. I just want you to know how to say things. Just like if we were babies and they were telling us, hey, when the baby is born and you're trying to teach it how to talk, you don't say, here's the letters. You don't say that. You don't say, in order for you to learn how to say mama or dada, you got to put up a picture in front of them. You don't do that. You just say mama, and they go mama or dada, and they start talking. You understand? So what we're learning is that all we need to do is just start talking. That's all we need to do in order to learn this language and about this culture. Okay. Your Torah portion this week was called Wayigash. Wayigash. Okay. And it means, and he drew near. So, what's the significance of drawing near? Well, last week we were finding out that the children of Israel, more specifically the 10 sons, or excuse me, the 11 sons of Yaakov, had made their way back to their brother Yosef. And now they're facing him, and they got caught with a silver goblet, and they have to search themselves, and they're making all these confessions and so forth and so on. And now they're in between a rock and a hard place. So now he wants to take them as, or take little Benjamin as a slave, and he wants to enslave him. And so now someone had to step up, and they had to get involved, and they had to be engaged with this ruler, which we know as Joseph. So the he that's being discussed right here is one of the sons of Jacob, who did that on behalf of his brothers. Okay. We're going to keep it really simple today. Um, I want to talk about seven different topics, and which six of them concern individuals. Okay. The first one is a nephesh, which you can write that down, which means your soul. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a nephesh, and all these words that you see up here, they're all Hebrew words. And you don't need to know what the letters look like at this time. You just need to know how to say them. So a nephesh is number one. Number two, we're going to talk about Yahudah. And third, we're going to talk about Yosef. And four is going to be Yaakov. Five is Yisrael. And six is Dawid. And seven, of course, is Yahweh. Okay. And this is the lineup today. Something very simple. Seven things we're going to discuss. We do a lot of reading. If you notice, we do a lot of reading because I don't want to give you too much of my commentary about how I see it. I want you to understand it from Yahweh's perspective. So the nephesh is the first thing that we're going to discuss right quick. Okay. Again, a nephesh is a soul. So why is this important? Because the soul is part of every individual that I just named to you, which is Yehuda, Yosef, um, Yaakov, the nation of Israel, Dawid, and including the Most High. I'm going to tell you something about a soul about him. Okay. For us as human beings, our nephesh is this natural desire, which would be our appetite. The desires that we have in terms of all of our natural desires, which has to do with our sexuality. It has to do with what kind of foods we like. It has to do with what colors we like. It has to do with all the things that we desire. So this is a gift that the Most High has given to us, is a soul, right? Which pretty much is our person. This is part of who we are. A nephesh, again, too, is not just a natural desire, it's also a natural instinct, okay? Which has to do with how do you and I feel about certain things, right? How do we see things emotionally, right? So when we get into different circumstances and situations, we start acting a certain way when different things happen to us. For example, when someone gets into a fight, there's a lot of hostility. That's an emotion, it's anger. which we talked about how the Most High desires for us. You can get angry, but he says, don't sin not, go lay down and think about it and calm down and figure out what you're going to do. So that's natural. That's part of who we are, and we can't deny that. Um, our natural instinct and our desire is to want to, and of course our appetite and desires is to mate. That's for a man and a woman. That's what we're supposed to do. This is who the Most High has designed. This is what He's made. Okay, so we have all these natural instincts and natural desires, which has to do with our emotional state. I want to let you know that the Most High Himself has a soul. He does. He has a soul. So we haven't been told this, right? We've only known Him as being the Most High, or known Him as God, known Him as the creator of the heavens and the earth, but we really don't know the true essence of Him. So when I say that the Most High have a soul, what I'm saying is that the scriptures tells us that He has a soul, okay? And it's found in this in particular passage right here. It says, I will put my tabernacle among you, and I will not reject you, but I will walk among you and be your Elohim, and you will be my people. Now, when you read this at first glance, you say, hey, I don't see anything about a soul here. And that's the danger of just reading in English, because there's a lot of things that are not expressed in English. English has a very difficult time of expressing what a soul is. And we're going to see that throughout our teaching today. So you might ask yourself, well, where is the soul in this in particular passage? Right? So I want someone to take a guess. Just guess. It's not being right or wrong. What word or letter is being used for soul?
I would say Elohim.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do we know about Elohim? What does Elohim mean?
Uh, a spirit.
Well, Elohim, just based alone of what we have of El and Lohim. Okay. So, excuse me. And we can solve the puzzle, because remember, the language is a puzzle, and English does nothing but confuses us. Okay, so this Elohim right here, when you look at Elohim, Elohim means something. So first letter is strength, the second letter is the staff, right? And this means plurality. So we know that El means power. So your Elohim is a power. But when it says Elohim, He's the power of powers. Okay, that's what Elohim is, right? So I told you that a nephesh is a soul, right? So again, when we look at nephesh, the letters that I wrote up there are English letters, but they represent Hebrew letters. Okay. They're what they call transliterated. Okay. Nephesh. Yes, Claudia.
I am thinking it's my tabernacle.
Well, that's a good guess.
Me
So-
too. I'm thinking that too.
The tabernacle. Okay. All right, good. So we got Elohim. So tabernacle is going to be called in Hebrew called a mishkan. Okay. In English letters. I'm sorry, this pen is just internet is just tripping. It's a mishkan. Okay. But this is a nephesh. So a nephesh is not the same as a mishkan. Different letters, sounds different. It's different than Elohim, right? Elohim is right here. This is the tricky part. I'm bringing you through this exercise so you guys can understand why we need to kind of do a little bit more research. Because when he's saying that the word that's being used here incorrectly is I. That's what's being used to say my soul. You don't see it. You would never find it if we were just to read English. So because we've been under the understanding or the learning of this culture of English, when the Most High is talking to us and He's saying I, and I, we only see it as being a person, but we don't see it as being a soul. And that's the problem. Okay, that's the problem. Because in Hebrew, He tells us the same first sentence that I just showed you, when he says, and I will give, okay, they said I will make, but here it is. And this I right here is this, I will give his Mishkani. That's my Mishkan. That's the M, that's the S, and that's the C, right? So Mishkan, Mishkani. So the Mishkani means my Mishkan, my tabernacle in the midst of them, right? And never will I reject. That's that right there. What I'm not going to reject? What am I not going to reject? What's not going to reject them? What's not going to reject them is my nafshi. Okay. So this letter right here is an N. Then they have this next letter right here, which is a PH. And then here's a SH. And all I got to do is put a vowel in there to give it that, to be a nephesh. Okay. But because it's being conjugated, he's letting you know whose soul it is. Okay. So his soul. So the Most High has a soul. You're not the only one who has a soul. Even animals have a soul. The living beings have a soul, right? So what's the difference between his soul and our soul? What's the difference? What do you think some of the difference is between his soul and our soul? He's saying that my soul won't reject him. What do you think? Huh?
Oh, you were asking for input?
Yeah, give me some input.
He is the source of all souls.
Bingo. So when we look at that, Yah, so when it says that he's the source, which that's just 100% true. When Yah says that I will not reject them, he's saying my soul will not reject your soul. I'm not going to reject your soul. When you and I are coming near to the Most High, when he says, I will put my tabernacle among them, that's him drawing near to us, because that's what Yigash means. It means to draw near. So when the Most High is saying, I'll draw near to you, he's saying, when I draw near to you, my soul will not reject your soul. Because the you is a soul. You have a soul too. This you right here, when he talks about you, he's talking about a person. And a person has natural instincts, a person has desires, a person has emotions, and all these different things. I'm not going to reject you, because I'm going to draw near to you. And my drawing near to you is through my tabernacle. And my soul right here, that I right here, is his soul. So what he wants to do is he wants to be what? I want to be connected. He wants to be connected. So drawing near means to get connected. Our Torah portion this week, everyone, is about reunification of a family. It's not just about reconciliation between individuals. It's about a family coming back together. Right? So here now we have a Joseph having to make a decision about whether or not I'm going to allow this to happen. And in order for them to be connected, last week we found out that these individuals have to be kanim. They have to be upright individuals in order for that to happen. That's what the Most High is showing us. But it's not just about individuals coming together. The Most High is saying, I'm the soul of all souls, and I'm the source of your soul, and I want to be connected to you. I want to walk among you. I want to be your Elohim. I want you to be my people. I won't reject you. I want you to draw near to me. I want you next to me. But it's something that we're failing to understand as a people, is that when you and I approach the Most High, we have to approach him correctly. It says, look, all lives belong to me. Both the parent's life and the child's life are equally mine. And when it says life right there, is talking about the soul. When it talks about all lives belong to me, all souls belong to me. So they're using life for souls. They're using lives for souls. I actually, changed the word. It says, so is the person. They changed the word from person. I changed it to soul right here, but it was person. So when they're translating these words, they're giving you this literal disconnect. You're thinking that Yah is outside of your reach and that you can't approach him unless you go through Christ of the New Testament. Then you have an automatic in, you can boldly approach him and come to the throne of grace. That's not what we're taught as his people. The Most High is letting us know that if you're going to approach me, you have to make sure if you're going to make a connection to me, then you have to understand something. If you sin, if your soul sins against me, that himself, that soul itself is the one who must die. And when it talks about dying here, he's talking about that will cease to exist. We all physically die. We all are going to leave this earth. But this die right here, the soul is putting a death to the soul, meaning I'm going to eradicate it. You will never, ever again be able to come and have a life. Right? Because if he's the source of all souls, and he's the beginning of all of it, he chooses who can come and who can stay and who can leave, when we leave and when we go. You don't get to pick your birth date, and you don't get to pick your death date. Yah's in charge of the soul. All souls belong to him. So my father just recently passed away, and I didn't get a brochure in the mail and said, your father's going to die on the 21st of December. And neither did he. That's the day that the Most High said, it's time for your soul to come back because it belongs to me. Because these lives belong to him, whether it's the parent's life or the child's life, they're equally his. And the parent gets to choose what they're going to look, how they're going to live. And then also the child gets to choose what they're going to do. Everyone gets to choose their own way that they're going to walk. This is common sense. Okay. And because it's up to us in our choosing, we get to choose whether or not we want to be connected to the Most High. So just like the parent has a right to choose whether he's going to be connected, he or she, the child has a right to choose if they want to be connected to the Most High. Well, if they belong to him, if they already belong to him, aren't you saying they're connected? Yes. Even though we're connected, we can choose to separate ourselves from the Most High. We could choose to put a breach between us and him. It's our choice. And that's what the New Testament takes away from you. It takes away your choice. They hand you something to get you out of your situation versus you making a decision to choose to live a different life and live in a way that pleases him. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Yehuda right quick. Yehuda, of course, we all know means praise. We know that. Okay. But we also know that Yehuda's name means confession. And what does Yehuda use to praise? He uses his hands. What does Yehuda use to confess? He uses his hands. Confession is made with the same hands that are used for praise. In your Torah portion, Yehuda had approached Yosef and said, please, my Lord, let your servant say something to you privately, and don't be angry with your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself. Okay. So the question here is this idea of him approaching him. He's drawing near unto Joseph. Joseph is the master. That's why he called him my Lord. Is used all throughout this Torah portion about him calling him his master, which is the fulfillment of the dream that he had about his brothers coming and bowing down and being his servant. Okay. So this idea here is that he's drawing near. That's what approach is. That is Wayigash. Okay. That's what this is right here, to approach. So Yah wants to bring that to our attention. Okay. That when you approach me, you're going to have to say something. You're going to have to say that I'm your master. That's what you're going to have to say. You're not going to approach me in a way that's disrespectful. You're not going to approach me with just a whole bunch of placating, okay, with a whole bunch of excuses to try to appease me. When you and I approach the Most High, you and I are going to have to take with us not just words, but we're going to have to take all of our souls to him. Okay, so Yehuda calls himself a servant and says something privately. So here he's not talking with Joseph with his brothers. So this is not an open dialogue. This is not an open discussion. This is something that has to be done by oneself. Okay. In Hebrew, that would be called the hitpael action, right? Which is the reflexive action. Like, I'm going to wash myself. I'm going to comb my hair. I'm going to feed myself. I'm going to cause myself to confess. So Yehuda takes this upon himself to make this confession, and he goes on and he addresses his master. He calls him my Lord, and he says, "I'm your servant. Let your servant say something to you privately," which the Most High is giving us an understanding about how you and I must approach him. When you and I approach the Most High, it's going to be private. It's not going to be you and your mother and your father. It's not going to be you and your son and your daughter. It's not going to be you and your boss. It's not going to be you and your girlfriend. It's going to be you. And it's going to be by yourself. That's what it's going to be. But you have to recognize the authority of the master. I think this is one of the biggest problems that we have as a people, is that we don't know who we're approaching because we've been taught wrong. We think God is, just going to accept everything and anyone. It's not going to happen. Okay. So the term that he says, my Lord, like you saw in our last slide, that term is called Adoni. Okay. Adoni. Okay. Adoni. Real quick, Adoni. Right. So what is an Adoni? Adoni is different than a Baali. Okay. Both of them mean my Lord. So one is Adoni, the other one is Baali. Adoni is my Lord, and Baali is my Lord. You'll see this in the Hebrew scriptures. You might even see it in English called Baali, right? So an Adoni and a Baali. So I'm going to tell you the difference between these two, okay? Yahweh says on that day, says Yahweh, you will call me Ishi, meaning my husband. That's what Ishi means, my husband. Ish is husband, and the E on the end, which is represented by the letter I there on the end of that word, Ishi, is my. You will no longer call me Baali, my master. Okay. So when we look at this, he's saying, you're going to call me my husband. That's what an Ish is right here. Spelled just like that. Okay. That's an Ish. Okay. This is a Baali, which we have our Hebrew word called Baal. Okay. Baal. So there's a difference between a husband and a Baal. There's a difference between my husband and my master. Okay. Well, I thought you said that my master is Adoni. Yes, my master is Adoni, and I'm going to show it to you. But I brought this Baali up because I need you to know what Baali is too. I don't want you to go in thinking that every time you see my master, it is Adoni. It's not, it's Baali. He said, I will remove the names of Baalim from her mouth, and they will never again be mentioned by name. So Baali is the name of these different gods and different lords, which you have in what they would call the New Testament. The New Testament is always mentioning the what you would call the Lord, right? So if you look in the New Testament, you're going to see the word Lord. That's what you're going to see. And sometimes you're going to see it all caps like this, all capitals, okay? And there's a difference between these two, okay? These are not equivalent, right? This one right here is from this word of Baal, right here. And that has to do with idolatry and idol worship, okay? This word right here is primarily used in the Hebrew scriptures as Yod He Wah, okay? So in some translations, you're going to see capital Lord, that's Yahweh, right? Also, too, you're going to see in some translations this word here, Lord, which is not talking about Yahweh, but it's more of a title. Okay. So this is where they're getting you confused because you're thinking all because it says Lord here and Lord here is the same person. It's the same thing, and it's not. Okay. So what they've done is they've turned Yah's name into a title. They don't want to let you know his name. They just want to call it by a title, Lord. And we're so stupid, okay, as a people that we would accept Lord is Lord. Lord is Lord. Just as long as we call him Lord, he's our master, and that's it. And you never get a chance to find out the Creator's name. But the Most High has told us, he says, I need you to pay attention to everything I've said to you, and do not invoke the names of other gods or even let them be heard crossing your lips. The names of other gods are not just what you have with the JC, the Christ. That's not only the name that he's concerned with. If you give any homage to what they would call Yehoshua, okay, or uh, you know, whatever names they're using, Yahweh or Yahoshua or JC the Christ, or even calling him Lord. Like I love the Lord, all these types of things, then you're in danger because the Most High says, I need you to pay attention, right? And he's asking what part of you to pay attention. I'm asking your soul. Because generally, sometimes when you see this pay attention, it's really talking about guard your soul, right? You have to guard your soul from invoking the names of other gods. Their names, okay? And their names is also giving in titles of these other gods. These gods that we have received in the nations, because that's where you're going to get them. You're going to get them from the other nations, right? So you have other names, which they call A-L-A-A-H. That's a name. You have this name that's used. You got another one. They give them a title, call them the Mashiach, right? And they think that this is cute. That's a nice name. I love that name, Mashiach. That sounds so powerful. He's anointed, or the Son of God, or whatever title that you're giving him. He's saying that these names can never cross your lips. Never. You can never invoke these names. Invoking meaning that you're calling on them for any type of help, or you're mentioning them, or you're giving any type of credence to them. That's why when we're talking, we always use the word JC or Jabus or whatever names we give him, or Jesus the Christ or whatever. We never call him by any other name. We don't even mention those names. It's against the law to call them by any other name. This is important because we're talking about approaching our master. Okay, so my master is called Adoni. Again, now I showed you earlier where I broke down different letters on why there's an I on the end of the word Adoni, which means my. So it's about personal ownership, right? Like this is my book, this is my son. I call him Bane. That's for son, and to say son will be Bani. If I say that I'm a husband, it would be Ish, right? And if my wife says that he's my husband, she would call me her Ishi. Okay. So it's about ownership, it's about possession. So when we talk about Adon, right, or Adoni, then he's saying that this is my master. So there are masters that are not just, you have masters that are over you, someone in greater authority over you, right? So you're calling my master. That's what Judah called Yosef. So, but the word that we're concerned with is not just Adoni. That's my master, but to say master, it will be called Adon, right? So this is how you say master, Adon. But when you say my master, you just throw this little thing on here and it'd be my master. Got someone trying to get in? Let me see. Shabbat shalom, is it okay to say? Is it okay to say the word Christ? No, I wouldn't say it. No, that's a Greek translation. I wouldn't say it because because you and I both know that it means more than just the letters. So just the frequency of that alone, right? When we say Christ, have we ever heard that word in Hebrew? No. No. If we're going to talk about something, because this is where they're getting it mixed up, just to answer Renee's question, everyone, before we move on and give her a little bit more context. When you say Christ, right? Everyone in the world thinks this is talking about a person. And exactly, and that person is an idol. That's what he is. He's an idol. Okay. When we say a Messiah, right? This right here is, and we can use this word, it's a Hebrew word, because this word has to do with more of a title. Okay. Even though this one right here is a title, they refer to a person, which is an idol, that is the son of so-called God that was unalive for your sins. You can use the word, carefully with Messiah, because Messiah basically is one who's been anointed, which they would call a Mashiach. Okay. So I would say turn to the Hebrew definitions instead of using the English or the Greek vernacular that tells us that, hey, say this. No. If you do say the so-called, call him the so-called Christ if you're having a conversation. Because there's no word for Christ. Actually, this word right here, Christ, comes from the word Christos. Put your device something for me, thank you. And Christos has to do with this idea of going to alligator oil. that they had in Egypt, right? So that's a whole nother study. We'll probably do that some other day, but that's where that word comes from. So its origins are not the same. There is no Hebrew equivalent. They're just trying to make it make sense, but it doesn't. Okay. So we have to be very careful about the words and the letters that we use, because often we're using these things and we're invoking something. Okay. So going back to the idea of an Adon, there's a root in that word. Okay. When I talk about root, I'm saying that there are 3 letters in a root of a word. Okay. Like planting a root in a tree, or for in the ground, excuse me, to bring out a tree. So the first letter right here is an aleph, and the second one's a dalet, and the third one's a noon, a final noon. But inside of that root, there's always a parent, 2 parents. Okay. So you got the 2, which would be called a parent root. And the parent of this in particular word, the parents, excuse me, is these 2 letters. The first one is the dalet, which has to do with the door, and the second one is the noon, which has to do with life. So to be an Adon and to be a master is one called the door of life. And what does someone as an Adon, what does it mean, the door of life? What is he doing? Well, or he or she is doing. Okay. The master is the one who is opening, because that's what a door does, right? A door opens and it closes, right? So it opens and it also closes, right? That's the function of a door. And what it's doing is saying that I want to open and I want to close things, right? So what I want to open. Usually what a dome does, a dome is like a judge. And what they do is they open and they close cases or contention, okay? They are the ones who are making a decision about life, what should happen. So in this case, when Yehuda is approaching Joseph, he's looking for him. He's calling him his master because he's asking him to make a decision about who's going to live and who's going to stay and all that. What kind of, not only life in terms of death, but life in terms of continuing, because that's what life is, because that's what a noon is. A noon is a seed, and seed has to do with life, and life has to do with continuation. So Yehuda is saying, I want to continue as your slave and let my brothers go and do this on for the sake of my father. So a person who's a judge or a person who's an Adon over a household is the one who makes decisions about life and what course of action we shall take. So they open and they close cases. So they can bring harmony and they can bring peace. And the decisions they make are final. See? And so when, you hear people, especially in the scriptures, Sarah calling Abraham her Adon, her Adoni, she's saying that you're the one who continues life. You're the decision maker here. And that's the role of a husband. A husband is a decision maker. And the moment that he's not able, he's supposed to solve conflict. And so anyone who's going to them have to understand that the decisions that are going to be made is the decisions going to be made, and we have to trust this Adon. We have to trust this Adon. And so I recommend, if you're not married and you're thinking about getting married and you're a woman or a man, if you have a woman, well, let me start with the woman first. Women, if you, sisters, if you have a man that you want to be with, you're going to have to make sure that you're going to be able to take his decisions. And likewise, if you're a man and you want to marry a woman, you got to make sure that she's going to trust you in order to make those decisions. Because if we don't do this, then what we're going to have is, instead of having harmony, what we're going to have is disharmony, and we're going to have nothing but what they would say confusion. And this is going to happen in the house. See, remember, Joseph and his brothers, they didn't want him to be their master. And this is what brought the confusion, and this is what brings the conflict in your home. Because there's no one there to make a decision. There is no Adon. And if there is an Adon, you have to say that he's Adoni. You have to make him my Adon. So people who are Adons by default, as men, they're in their homes, they're married, they are the Adon. But it's not until the wife actually says, my Adoni. You have to accept it. So the my is really acceptance. It's not just saying, possessive, it's acceptance of the leadership. So here we see Yehuda making a decision on behalf of his brothers, saying, we accept you now as our master, and we know that our fate lays in your hand, and we're asking for you to make a decision. Okay. And this is what an Adon is. let's talk a little bit more about Yehuda and Joseph. They're connected. I know I could have had them separate, but they're together. And the reason why I put them together is because at this in particular moment in our Torah portion, they're joined. They're secretly talking. They're not, their other brothers are not listening. It's just him and Joseph. That's all. So they're connected in a very special way. Now, one of Joseph's sons that he had is called Ephraim, and this is what we find in our prophets that talks about this relationship. It says, Ephraim's jealousy will cease, and those who harass Yehuda will be cut off. Ephraim will stop envying Yehuda, and Yehuda will stop provoking Ephraim. And the question would be is, why is this happening between them, right? So Ephraim is the one who's been selected to be the leader, which you and I are going to find out next week. All right. He's been chosen by Yaakov to be the leader. Okay. From Joseph's line. Okay. He's of Joseph's son. That's his baby son. And the name Israel has been conferred upon him, right? Which we're going to find out next week. So there's a lot of envying, right? So Ephraim is envying Yehuda because Yehuda is the natural born leader, right? So the father did not choose Reuven because Reuven's crime against him. He didn't choose Simeon and Levi because they were violent. So when Yehuda went on behalf of the family, he's the one who said, I'll go, and if anything happens to the boy, let me bear it, right? So this jealousy and this provoking all has to do with who's in charge. So our Torah portion is about leadership. Who is in charge? Sorry for the writing, you guys. The pen is just not acting. The internet just don't want to write. Let me just slow down. Leadership. Okay. So there's a leadership issue. They don't want him to rule them. Now they don't have any choice now but to allow him to rule. But they don't even know that that's him, right? So this problem, this contention too, is because Ephraim was born, his mother was an Egyptian, and his father was the one who protected. Just to give you a little context. Ephraim's daddy is Joseph. Okay. Joseph is the second in command of an entire land of Egypt. He's over all of it. He's second in command to Pharaoh. Okay. He's the one who has all the wealth. He's the one who has all the power. He's the one who has all the influence. Okay. Yehuda has influence over his brothers. He's the one who has power, right? And he has wealth, and his wealth has to do with his numbers. Okay. If you look in our Torah portions, he's like 75,000 deep versus Ephraim being, not as many as them, right? So they got a larger percentage of the territory and inheritance because of how great they are. And of course, he's recognized as being a lion of the tribe of Judah. This is being a lion. That's his sigil, that he's very, very powerful. Okay. So there's a power struggle. Right? There's a power struggle that's going on. And because of this power struggle, they're fighting over who's in charge and who's going to be the leader, meaning who's going to be the master. Okay. So in your Haftarah, the Most High tells us that, the word of Yahweh came to me, says, you human being, take one stick and write on it for Yehuda and those who are joined with him among the people of Israel. And next, take another stick and write on it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel join with him. These scriptures have to make sense. We have to put the pieces of the puzzle together for us to understand what's going on within the family. What's going on inside of Israel's family and Yaakov's family is that there's a power struggle, right? And because one believes that my father is the one who saved us. I'm the one who got the name Israel, talking about Ephraim. Yehuda's saying, well, I'm the one who the family chose to be the leader, and I'm the one whom Yah chose to be the leader, right? So there's always a struggle. So don't feel bad in your life when you're trying to figure out who's in charge. Now, Yaakov, now going to him right quick, because I have to speed up a little bit just for the sake of time. Yaakov, on the other hand, we find in our Torah portion that he mentions a lot of different things, but I just want to touch base on just a few things. He says, so now if I go to your servant, my father, just as Yehuda talking about his father, Yaakov, he said, the boy isn't with us, seeing how his heart is bound up with the boy's heart, meaning his nephesh. So again, we see the word nephesh again being used for heart, just like we saw for a person, just like we saw for other things like life and lives and all these different sorts of ideas and I, right? And person. So when you see that the boy, when he sees that the boy isn't with us, he will die, and your servant will bring the gray hair of your servant, our father, down to Sheol with grief. Sheol is a place of the what they would call the grave. Okay. But I underline this because I want to speak to the fact of going down to the grave with grief. But I italicize the word bound up first, because what he's saying is that the boy and the father have soul ties. Okay. And the word that's being used there is called quashartim. There, his soul is bound and tied to the boy's heart. There's been a question about something about King David that I want to raise up right quick. So anyone who's listening or on live or want to take this information, you can. There's been an insult to King David that talks about him having his soul and Jonathan's soul being tied together. The word drawn there is the word called koshartim, meaning bound. It's the same thing as being bound. So it says, by time David had finished speaking to Sheol, Natan found himself inwardly drawn to David's character. Again, you can see how English is using the word character for nephesh. See, so if we're reading English, we would only say, oh, he's connected to his character, right? He's connected to his soul, okay? So Natan loved him as he did himself. A lot of people are saying that this is some kind of act of a moral act of homosexuality between David and Jehonathan, meaning that they were gay, and that's not true. The same idea that's with Yaakov and Benjamin, the son of his right hand, is the same word that's being used between David and Jonathan. So if you were to say that David and Jonathan were homosexuals, you would have to say that Yaakov and Benjamin was being molested by his father. Do you see the perversion in that? So because people don't understand the language and they don't understand the culture, they're saying these weird things like I just showed you. And you know what I'm talking about, Kari Banyo. You know what I'm saying. So anytime that we have to deal with that issue again, when someone says anything like that about someone's heart being bound, that word is actually the same that's being used right here between Yaakov and his son, right? So it's not some weird, perverted type of binding of the soul. Okay. The second point I want to bring out about how he said, if we'll bring his gray hair of your servant, our father, down to the Sheol with grief. This is very important for us to understand, because it was something the Most High showed me about what happens to us when we leave the earth and what happens to our souls. Okay. The word that's being used right there about going down to Sheol with grief is this word called yagan. And yagan means to be deep grief and sorrow. And it's talking about some emotional distress. And it's talking about a result of some loss or some type of consequence of something. And it's literally what you would say the human condition, because things happen to us all the time and we have grief and sorrow. When we have this grief and sorrow, everyone, what it's saying is, when he says, I'm going to bring it here to go down to him into the grave with him, he's saying that we actually transmit what happens to us on this earth down with us. So when it says that the soul that sinned against me is the one who's going to be unalive, when the Most High says that, he said, I'm going to eradicate that soul, I'm going to exterminate that soul. The other souls that are not exterminated, the other souls that do get to continue to live, that just are reunited back with their families when they go back to Sheol, okay, when they're gathered to their people, the impacts of what has happened to them goes along with them. So the impressions that happen to us and our life experiences that happen to us are the impressions. It's the impact that it has had on our soul. It's like kind of searing us, or kind of putting a stamp on us, or putting a scar on us. So this is the thing that we need to be careful of, because what Yehuda was trying to avoid is he was trying to avoid being a contributor to the sorrow of his father, which teaches us a lesson about, if what we do and what we say and how we treat people can affect them, it's not gone when they die. It doesn't leave that soul unless they've been destroyed. The person that they have done this act, it remains with us. right? So if I treated someone some way and they passed away, and of course I don't know what's happened to them. I don't know whether the Most High had mercy on them or not. Whatever I've done to that person has impacted their soul. So if I'm the one who caused the sorrow, they left here with sorrow, and there's really no way for me to remedy that impact that I had on them. So this is one of the reasons why the Most High wants us to be careful about how we impact people and what we do. We don't want to be the contributors of other people's sorrows that you find in chapter number 44, verse number 31. And you can write that as a note. Yes, Kel, go ahead.
Hey David, I just had a question about this, like the soul that you're talking about. Is that, can you also say that the soul is also the mind? Is that, are they the same or are they different?
Well, remember, we outline what the soul is. It is the mind, it's the emotions. So if you go down to your grave, he said, I'm going to go to my grave, because this is what he told me. He said, I'm going to go down to my grave, my gray hair, and I'm going to be, um, he said, how do I raise my hand? And just raise your hand. It's right there. If you're going to the grave, if someone did something to you and you went to your grave, you went down with sorrow, that soul has been sorrowful. When they get to the place where they're going, they're still sorrowful. Here's evidence of what I'm saying, right? Because you're saying, well, this is what you're saying. No, this is what it is. When King Saul wanted to find out information about what was going to happen to him, he went and he went to consult a woman who had the ability to talk to those who gone away, and he went to Shemuel. And when she saw him, and Saul saw him, he recognized him. So souls have recognition. He wasn't in his body, so he has a soul. His soul recognized Saul. His soul called out to him. Saul recognized him, right? He recognized him. So everything, and he told him exactly what was going to happen. So how did he have information about that? How did he know that he troubled? He said, why are you troubling me? Right? Another example is when David, when his son had died, he said, well, I can't go to him. I mean, he can't come to me, but I can go to him. Well, how would he know who he is? He would recognize him. He would recognize his soul. So the point I'm making here is you and I want to be careful because of the impacts that we have made on others. You're really going to damage yourself if you're doing something to someone else and you can't remedy what has happened. Okay. There's certain things that just can't be remedied. There's no remedy. I'll use my own life example. I'll have you in just a second, Carbano. When my father just passed away, and the man, he was 78 years old, and he never had an opportunity. Well, he had plenty of opportunities to get the relationship right between him and others, not just me, but other people. But he lived his way he lived his life in a way that did not allow him to remedy the situations that he's done, and he didn't try and give his best effort to make those things right. So everything he's done has gone with him. So our souls, literally everyone, is a recording device. And because Yah is the soul, the master and the origin of all souls, it's a recording device. That's why he says the soul that sinneth against me. So there's different things that you and I have done and said that is going on record. We're like a recording device. Your soul is recording everything. It records your memories and everything. You see? So when we go out of this plane, we go to the next one, just like the Most High said, when I bring you back into the land, you're going to be ashamed of everything that you have done. Well, what are you talking about? He's given us a recording. It's been recorded. You understand? Yes, Carbano.
So you said that Yehuda, when he was talking to Yosef, was telling him he doesn't want to be a contributor to his father's grief. All right. When he's rightfully saying this because he experienced it before when he sold his brother off.
Mm-hmm.
He was the cause of his father's pain.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget what he did with his other sons. He lost his other sons. He lost Er and he lost Onan.
Right.
And he never saw that it was because of, number one, what they were doing, but the cause of the grief that he had and what he did. So he's shameful and he understands this and he's coming to the end of himself. And I think that's what we need to understand. It's like, let's don't make contributions to people's lives that are not meaningful. If you have an opportunity to remedy a situation, then remedy it if it can be, because at one point in time, there's not going to be some things you just can't remedy. There's just some things that are not going to have a remedy to it. But we don't want to be the contributors to other people's sorrow. That's my point. You don't want to leave an impression upon their soul. I don't want to hurt you in a way that's impacting your life to where you go and when you leave, it still affects you. See, we've been taught that we should ignore how we feel. And that's not what we're seeing. The Most High is saying, I want you to be sensitive enough to know how you're impacting others. And so we can learn that from Yehuda in this example. Okay. Also, too, this idea of being bound of the soul, right? Going back to what, Yaakov's soul was bound with Benjamin's soul. He said if we don't bring him back, he's going to die and he's going down with grief. David and Jonathan's soul were bound to each other. They were bound. In the Torah, it talks about us being bound too. Okay. Right. So here in Deuteronomy chapter number 6, it says, these words, which is the Shema of Israel, which I'm ordering you today, are to be on your heart, and you are to teach them carefully to your children. You are to talk about them when you sit at home, when you're traveling on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them. That word right there is the same one as bound or draw, is kashartim, meaning to bind yourself. So I need you to bind these on your hand as a sign and put them on the front of your headband around your forehead and write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. So I asked the question, Yahweh, why are you saying this? He's saying because the words that I've given you in the Torah, I'm asking you to bind them on your being, on your work of your hand. I'm asking you to, on the front of your head, I'm asking you to always think about them, to know that you and I are connected. And if you tie them to that, I want you to tie them to the frame of your house. Why? Because I want an ornamental decoration on your house, so people walk up at the front door and see on your mezuzah, or the Shema on the front door, to let them know that you're doing this. No, I want you to be sincere about how you feel about me in every area of your life, in your work, in your thoughts, and in the residence where you live, where your soul is. Your soul is the one that's reaching out your hand to do what you desire. Your soul is the one that has the appetite to eat certain things. And what I'm saying to you is that the words of the Most High, the Torah themselves, the instructions, is Yahweh's desires. It's the desire of his heart, of how he feels. It's the desire of his compassion. It's Yah's way of saying to us that I'm connected to you. I'm giving you insight to who I am so you and I can dwell in harmony. I don't want to be in conflict with you. I don't want it for us to have, disharmony in the family. But if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, to bind yourself to me, and if you don't love me the way that I'm asking you to, then you're going to be separated from me. Okay, separated, and which is going to be a problem, which that has been the problem, as you can tell right now. So we're in the idea of reunification because you and I have been separated from the Most High. Yaakov, before he went, once he realized that Yosef was alive, he went to Beersheba and he did an altar and he made a sacrifice to the Most High. And the Most High appeared to him in a vision at night, and he called to Israel, Yaakov, Yaakov. He answered, here I am. I'll start right there for a second. Why is the Most High calling him Yaakov? Yaakov, and he's not calling him Israel when, of course, he changed his name. Why is he not calling him Israel? He's calling him by the name of Yaakov because the name Yaakov has to do with suffering. He's letting him know that still at this moment in your life, you have not prevailed. You're still going to suffer as a people. Your household is still going to suffer. He said, I am Hael, like I told you last week, Ha Elohim, the Ani, right? Yahweh. I am Hael, the Elohim of your father. Don't be afraid to go down to Egypt. This is, it is there that I will make you into a great nation. Not only will I go down with you to Egypt, but I will also bring you back here again after Yosef has closed your eyes. Okay. So he's telling him that, I'm going to be with you. Don't worry about it. Go down there. So he's directing his life, and the man's life was a life of sorrow. When Pharaoh asked him, well, how long, how old are you? And, what's your age? Why was that important? He said, the time of my stay on earth has been 130 years. They have been few and difficult. That word difficult right there is evil. Right? So he's still facing, even after he had this vision of Yah, Even he had this communication with Yah. Even after the altar and the sacrifice of Yah, he still is saying that my life has been few and difficult, fewer than the years of my ancestors lived. And at this point, he's exhausted from the way that his life has gone. His wives have died. His sons lied to him. They betrayed him. They betrayed their honesty and confidence. They said their brother was, unalived or ate up by a wild animal. And he's been living with this for so many years. And he's been grieving this whole time. He's literally exhausted. Okay. And he's been betrayed by his family, which is horrible. Okay. So now that we talked about that, now we're going to get into Israel right quick, just for a brief moment. It says, now I will make them one nation in the land on the mountains of Israel. This is found in your Haftarah portion in the book of Ezekiel, chapter number 37, for your reference. And one king will be king for all of them. They will no longer be two nations, and they will never again be divided into two kingdoms. Question is why is this the Haftarah for our Torah portion? Because the Most High is showing us that at this in particular moment, this kingdom has been in opposition to one another. There's been a lot of opposing forces within the family, and they have been divided, and there's been a separation, and there's been a great deal of conflict and confusion and a lot of harm that has happened. There's been a lot of evil that's been going on. And so, at this in particular point, when we talk about our nation as Israel, you got to ask yourself the question, are the individuals that are located in the land of Palestine, are they the people? And here's your answer. If they are Israel, then they would be one nation in the land. If they are Israel, they would no longer be two nations. All the family of Yaakov would be together. And at that time, there will be a king for all of them. See? So by someone just saying that there's something, we're the people who are about, you need to verify. We don't just say things, we have to prove what we're talking about. So this is to let you know that this hasn't happened yet, and there is no unification. So there hasn't been any reunification of our family, and it's only going to happen when someone else comes on the scene, and that individual that's going to come on the scene is going to be Dawid. When Dawid comes on the scene, okay? And he is what you would call the guy that's going to bring everyone together. Okay, these are the letters of his name, a Dalet, a Wa, and a Dalet. Okay, each one of those letters means something. You can see it on the screen. The first letter is a door, the second one is a tent peg, and the last one is a door. Why are two doors connected with Dawid? Because Dawid is the unifier of the family. That's who he is. He's the unifier. He's going to bring both of the houses. He's going to bring the house of the tribes and the nation of Judah and the nation of Israel together. He's going to bring the house of Ephraim and everyone who's joined to him, and the house of Yehuda together, more specifically Yosef. So the house of Yosef is Ephraim, which is his son, who's been having a problem with leadership. They want to do their own thing. Yah has decided that Dawid is going to be the unifier. Yes, Caribano. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. So basically, what it's saying, David is that branch that is going to draw them near to each other.
Yeah, according to his name, when we have those two doors in his name, you see that that door belongs to a what? What does a door belong to?
A home or a building.
There you go. That's a house. So you got two houses. And remember, Dawid is the one who the Most High, when Israel got split up between when Shaul and he was unalive, the house of Israel was divided, and Yah has chosen David to bring both of these houses together. So right now they're separate. They've been split. They've been divided. So Dawid is not a divider. Dawid is a unifier. So when you ask yourself about the New Testament, was this guy here, was he a unifier? Because it said he's from this family. So if he's the unifier, then both of the houses of Israel should have been brought back together and there should be shalom, but there isn't. So this is the reason why you know that this guy isn't the unifier. He hasn't brought any unification. So we're using, we can use historical data to prove this. We can use that which is going on right now. Yes, Kel.
Yeah, my question, David, is like you said that like David is the one that's going to be coming back. So we know David is, not here anymore, but his soul is still somewhere with Yahweh. But when he comes back, the soul that you also say is the mind, is he going to know who he is, like to then know that he is here to do the will of Yahweh?
Yeah. Okay. So for example, when we say that, it's because he has a soul, right? So it's exclusive that goes to him. It's his soul, right? All right. So when people are come and they come and go, right? They come and go. Dawid is um among, and this is in Jeremiah chapter number 30. Okay. He's among us. Okay. Dawid is among us. He's in chapter number 30 of Jeremiah. For him to know that he is the one, that this is what he's going to do, he probably knows it, but he can't say anything because it hasn't happened. Because he knows better. He can't go around and saying, I'm going to be the king of Israel. I can't say that. You have to be able to prove it. Remember, it's not about what you say, it's about what you can prove. The Most High doesn't want us to believe anything. He actually wants you to see it. So he's saying, if once you see it, once you see this man, and there's some other things that have to happen prior to this, because our understanding is the Most High is not going to use Dawid to bring us out. Dawid is just going to be a prince that is going to rule for the Most High. Okay, he's going to rule on behalf of the Most High. Okay, he's not going to be the one who's going to bring us back to the land. He's not going to be the one who's going to save us. Yah is the one who's going to save us. He's saying, I'm going to appoint Dawid to you. But Dawid is among the people. Dawid is kind of like the guy that's in the group and no one knows who he is. He knows who he is, but he can't say anything because the Most High hasn't said it.
He kind of sounds like Moses, like he's coming back to speak on behalf of us and unify us
Yeah.
like Moses tried to.
Yes. Yes. And this is the reason why he's a unifier, is because it says Yahweh this is the words of Dawid. Dawid wrote this in Psalms 39. He says, you have probed me and you know me, right? You know when I sit and when I stand. You discern my inclinations from afar and you scrutinize my daily activities. You may say, well, how does that apply to him being the one? How do you know that he's a unifier? The unifier has to be the individual who understands who Yahweh is. They have to understand, they have to know that the Most High is the master. They have to know that they're not an ordinary person. Like, for example, when he says, you scrutinize my daily activities, everything that I'm doing, you're watching, meaning like a master that is always watching their servant. So this is what he's saying. He's acknowledging Yah's presence, and he's saying that you know everything about me. And you can read chapter number 139 to bring a little bit more context. Okay. The individual of the soul of Dawid is the one who says, Yahweh, how I hate those who hate you. I feel such disgust with those who defy you. I hate them with unlimited hatred. They have become my enemies too. Okay. Now, a lot of us would not want to subscribe to this. And the reason why we don't want to subscribe is because we feel like hating people would be wrong. King Dawid, whoever he is, has to feel this way. And he will feel this way. He will hate those who hate Yahweh. He will not sit at the table with people that hate the Most High. Why? Because they're defying Yah. He's a different type of person. He has a different type of soul. His soul has to be bound with Yah's soul. And the reason why this is important is because the individual whom Yah would choose to rule his people has to be the one who's willing to be examined. And that individual has to be examined by El, okay? And El here is the power, right? The strong staff is the one who knows it, and to know my heart and test me and to know my thoughts. Well, I thought you said you know everything about me. No, he's saying that I want you to test me so you can reveal to me my thoughts. He already knows my thoughts. He says, and to know my thoughts. Why? To make them known to me, to see if there's any hurtful way in me and lead me along the eternal way. The eternal way is through the Torah. But what I want you to understand about any hurtful way He's not talking about how he can hurt someone. He's talking about how he can hurt himself. This pen. The reason why he wants to know if there's something within himself that hurts himself, he's saying that if there's anything in me that can cause me to sin against you, that can bring harm to myself. Okay? He cares about how he sees himself. He wants the Most High not to examine others. He wants the Most High to examine him. So am I saying that we can't apply these words to us? No, this is his desire. And you and I can make it our desire too, because we can be like our prince, the one who has a mind after Yah's own heart, a man after Yah's own heart, Yah's mind, right? So he wants to be lined up and he wants to be aligned with Yah. And he understands this by going through a very extraneous process of being examined and being tested. That's the part. That's how you will know. He's saying that I don't want to do anything that's going to harm myself. If there's a hurtful way in me, it's something I can cause myself to do. I can make a move, because he's saying you know me. You know my thoughts, right? So I want to know, is there anything in me that will cause to hurt myself that I won't be able to do what you're asking me to do, so I can be able to be the one that you would lead on this eternal way? See, so when he talks about leading, there's that shepherd staff. I want to be led by you, but I have to go through examination. Now, listen, I brought this example to my wife today. Sometimes we're a little hard on ourselves because of all the training that we receive from our previous experience in our life. We've been taught wrong, and you and I have to be honest with ourselves and say, we need to be open to correction. What has happened with us, everyone, is that we're the ox, right, that has been brought out to the field. And we've been walking around and we've been doing whatever we want to do. We go in all kind of circles, crisscross and all that, right? And we just been walking around, right? So the one who we claim to have been our shepherd in the New Testament has been leading us on his paths. And guess what? We never received any correction and we never received any training. Okay. The ox that the Most High is concerned with is the ox who's willing to, first, the Most High is not going to take an ox. And I want you to hear me and hear me well. The Most High is not going to take an ox and put it out in the field until he trains it first. So the Most High is not going to put an ox out on the field and say, okay, ox, here you are, Akika, go straight. Go ahead. No. The Most High says, no, that's not going to happen. What I'm going to do for my ox is this: when you're underneath my leadership, what I got to do with my ox is I got to take my ox and I have to have my ox go in circles. And once I train that ox in going in circles first, then I can take that ox and put them out into the field. So we're being hard on ourselves because you're thinking that you should know how to walk and you should know these things. And, you look back at your life and you say, damn, I did a lot of bad stuff. And how many mistakes have I made? And you're being hard. You got to understand that you've been an ox that hasn't been connected to the master ox, the greater ox than yourself. Okay. So you've just been put out there. There's another ox, a more mature ox that we need to be yoked up with, that's supposed to help us, where we make our connection, where he can train us on how to walk. And then you and I can carry the load behind us. Okay. We can carry this load. We can drag through and we can go forward. Okay. So what the Most High is doing right now is he said, we can't do this. This is the work that I want you to do for me, but you can't do this work until you've been trained. You got to learn how to walk straight, but that comes through discipline. It comes through the staff. Okay, so if I don't put this staff on you, you're not going to know how to go. You see? When you talk about hurtful way, this ox here can decide, well, I'm going to go ahead and gouge this other ox right here. I'm going to hurt this ox. I'm undisciplined. I don't know how to walk straight. Then you're going to be a danger to yourself. You're going to do all kind of stuff. So the work that we have to do right now for the Most High is not working in a straight line right now. Not right now. You're not doing that right now. Yah is not telling you this right now. Okay. What Yah is saying is this is what you need to do. I need you to go in circles first. Well, Akika, how are we going in circles? Oh, let me write up here for you right quick. There you go. Torah what? Torah portions. So let me ask somebody a question. How long have you been going on a Torah cycle? Dr. Yared, how long have you been on the Torah cycle? How many years? Can you hear me? Kale, how many years you been on the Torah cycle?
Sorry, I
I
was
think
on
this
mute.
is like about 7 now.
7 years. Dr. Yared, what'd you say?
Was talking, but I was on mute.
Okay.
About 5 years.
So Dr. Yared's been on for 5. Kale's been on for 7, right? I've been on for about 10. Okay. So we're all at different times, right? But all of us been doing a cycle. And we've been learning the same stuff over and over and over again. That's what Yah is doing to us. Right? So the Torah portions are how Yah is training us. So if you're not doing your Torah portion, are you being trained? No. If you're not doing Torah portions, you're not being trained. Period. You won't be any use to Yah. My servant Dawid will be king over them, and all of them will have one shepherd. They will live by my rulings and keep and observe my regulations, meaning that now this guy is going to be my shepherd. He's going to lead them. He's going to lead them. They're going to lock. They're going to call. See the shepherd staff? See? To be tamed, to go in a direction, to lock, to go. You need to be trained and learn how to walk. I'm going to put the lamed on them. That's staff to correct them, to teach them, to train them so they can learn about who's in charge. Once we go through the training, Yah brings us back. He says, I'm going to make Dawid to be king over them. He's going to rule on my behalf. King just means ruler. And he's going to rule in this, in the rulings and the regulations, because he knows how to lead. That's what a shepherd does, to lead the people in the direction that Yah says to go. So if JC, the one that we used to love and adore, if he was the good shepherd, he would have taught us the rulings and the regulations of the Most High, but he never did. He turned around and said, I'm your master, and I'm the master of the Shabbat. Most High never said nothing like that. You understand? So this shepherd, his job is to teach us on how to walk and where to go, because that's what the desire of his soul is. Matter of fact, before I leave that, I had a note that I wanted to share with you about the shepherd. Okay. In your Torah portion, Yosef told his brothers to tell Pharaoh that you guys are shepherds. Remember? And when you get there and you stand before him, you tell him this. There's a variety of reasons why. I can't share all of them right now for the sake of time. But I want you to know that the shepherding was it was being a shepherd was abhorrent to the people. It was the lowest of low, is being a shepherd.
That so that would be akin to a man being a flight stewardess today.
Yes, it's the lowest of the low. So the idea behind being a shepherd, it is the lowest of the low in other people's eyesight, right? Right? But it's what Yah has chosen as a divine position. is the individual, is the leader who cares for the Yah's sheep. It is literally the most important role that this in particular leader has in their life. So the nations, they despise our way of life like the Mizraim despised the shepherd. But Yahweh honors the shepherd. That's why he says that he's going to lead my people. So what is abhorring to the nations and what's abhorrent to everyone else, it is what Yah looks at as being the most honorable. So being a shepherd is the most honorable position. What the nations look at as being the worst. The Most High is our divine shepherd, and he's going to use Dawid, his soul. So that's the reason why this soul of this man needs to be in a different way. He needs to be the one who hates everyone who hates Yahweh. He needs to be the one who is disgusted with people who defy the Most High. He's the one who says, I'm not going to allow any liars to stay in my house. I'm not going to sit at the table with people that hate the Most High. This is the guy that we want to be our leader, because if he's not that guy and he's not willing to do that, and he's a compromiser, he can't lead people to live in a way by Yah's rulings and his judgment. He can't teach people how to guard Yah's laws. That's who this man is. That's the soul of Dawid. You see? Now let's finish up with Yahweh. Praise be to Yahweh. There's a difference between the word Adonai and the word Adoni. Okay? So an Adonai is a master of masters. That's what Yahweh is. So you'll see a word called Adonai in your scriptures, and you'll see a word called Adoni. Okay? And you'll also see something that's capitalized. Okay? So this was something that was written by Dawid. He says Yahweh. They have Adonai here. They replaced Yahweh's name with this word Adonai, meaning master of masters. Okay? So they're thinking, well, we're not doing any harm to his name. We're just not going to let them know his name. So we'll just call him master. But that could be anybody. But Yah is the master of masters. Master of masters is greater than just this right here. Okay? It is. It's greater. They capitalize this like they do the word Lord. So in the translations, what they've done is, instead of them putting Adonai in your translations, they put capital Lord, which is still is supposed to be Yahweh. That's his name. That's his name. So we don't supposed to use the word Lord. We don't supposed to use the word God. We don't supposed to use the word Adonai in the sense of calling him this out of context. Here's Adonai again, but it's lowercase. Well, what does it mean? What Dawid is saying, anytime you see this of Adonai here in lowercase, he's saying master of masters. So in here, this is his cry. So when David says this, he says, Yahweh. This is how it's supposed to read. Yahweh. I call on you from the depths. Hear my cry, master of masters. My master, let your ears pay attention. He's asking his master to pay attention to the sound of my pleading. Because that's where you remember you're supposed to go to the master. So he's the door of life, so he can resolve and handle your conflicts for you. Right? He's supposed to bring life to you. He says, Yah. What about Hashem? Good question. Hashem is a perversion of the Most High's name. And where they get it from is they get it from Genesis chapter number, I forgot what chapter, but he's talking about praise be the Hashem of, or the name of the Shem of the Elohim of Shem. The word Hashem is used there, and I'll show it to you later on. That is false. We should never call him that, because what it denotes is that you don't have a relationship with him. The Most High told us what name to call him. And for your reference, so you'll know that I'm telling you the truth, I want you to go to the book of Exodus, and I want you to go to chapter number 3, and I want you to go to verse 15. That's his name from generation to generation. And they are going to have there in English Adonai, or in another thing they'll have capital Lord. That is not his name. If you don't call his name Yohe-Wahe, you don't give the frequency Yahweh. There is a frequency. So when you pray to him, don't call him this. He's not recognizing Hashem. He's not. What is that? Ha in Hebrew means what? The, and then shame, which pen. That is the name. So you're calling him the name? That what we're going to call him? Is that an is that intimacy right there? Is that honor to him? The name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, everyone, has been mentioned over 6,828 times in the Tanakh. The name Yahweh in the New Testament has been mentioned 0 times. The name Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh, which people are going around saying this is his name, which we got a lot of people out there just, they're making me mad, has never been mentioned except for one time in the book of Exodus, chapter number 3, verse number 14, to say that's the action of his name. But or other than that, this has never been mentioned whatsoever as his name. The name Hashem has never been mentioned to identify our Elohim. In our covenant, the first words he says is Anoki Yahweh. I am Yahweh. That's what he tells us, and it's for a reason. We've been playing dumb, like letting these people call him God and this and that. They're disrespecting him. Go ahead, Kel.
Oh, hey David, I was wondering if like you said right now that we shouldn't call him Hashem because he doesn't recognize that name. But if you can remember back when you were a Christian praying to him as JC and he led you here to believe what you believe now, do you think that he still recognizes other people, like calling him other names and praying to him under other names, even though they don't believe what we believe, but they have the heart to maybe believe it later?
No. He's not going to make, he knows, and what I mean by that, sorry for the brashness. What I mean by that is that if we call him by a name that's not his, so say we used to call him JC, or we call him the God of, God and all these other names. He doesn't recognize that name. That name is not recognizable to him. It's actually a name of another God. It's really against his law. Okay. There's a vision that you can read in chapter number 6 of Isaiah. And the seraphim, these fiery beings, are there and they proclaim his name. Right? When the individuals come and they testify and the messengers that are sent, that's the only name that they use and recognize. Even though we're guilty, we cannot justify our guilt by saying, well, I just didn't know. No, it's an error. When we came into this truth, it was through the revelation of his name. I didn't come to know the Most High through any other name. I didn't come to know. So I'll speak from my experience, I was like, well, I've been calling you this. And, of course, my mother, she didn't know your name. And my grandmother didn't know. They did. And bottom line, it hurt my feelings because I said, well, I've been hurting your people. These are your people. And there was something internally inside of me is like, those are not my people. What? Those are not my people. My people recognize me as who I am. You were my people when I had mercy on you, right? And you're always going to be my people. I can do whatever I want to do with you, but I'm not going to accept any other name except for that name because that's the name that I'm recognized by. So when you go to Zechariah chapter number 14, verse number 9, he said, this is going to be the only name. We read earlier where he says, I'm going to take the names of these gods out of your mouth. Is that a name that should ever be mentioned? No. When you came to this truth, you came to Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. You didn't come to God. You came to Yahweh. That's what the name that you came to. And that's the only name that's ever going to be recognized. So no, he's not going to accept that. And because that would have to be, he's going to accept them. And they can play, well, I didn't know. And the I don't know game is not the game that they want to play because they're saying, yeah, we're guilty, but we didn't know. No, you're still guilty. So what is it? When you find out the truth about what it is, he tells you what his name is, right? He's listed what his name is. Because you didn't read it, whose fault is that? Is it his fault? Is it his fault that our ancestors told us the wrong name? Is it his fault? No, it's not his fault. That's your fault. You should have known. That's what it is. See? So there won't be any excuses, right? I can claim all day long. Well, my mother didn't know. She didn't know, right? I can say she didn't know. So did she know him? No, because if she knew him, listen, his name goes along with a lifestyle. So whatever name they're calling on, that name has to reflect the lifestyle. That's what it has to reflect. If you call on his name, but yet you eat pork, you don't know Yah. Yah says it all the time. I don't have the scripture because I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but he says, you invoke my name, but you don't invoke it in truth. So there's people that did know his name and still didn't live the way that they're supposed to. You see? So it goes both ways. What he's talking about, what does his name mean? Right? Like you can't carry around my name and be living a way that you want to live falsely. That's why he put it inside the covenant, that if you carry my name and you say my name and it's not reflective of who I am, you're not going to be held guiltless. You're going to be guilty. So no, he's not letting them off. He's not. I want us to understand, I don't know if I covered this. Yeah. So I want us to understand something about how powerful this name is. It's the only name that should ever be coming out of our mouths, not Adonai, it's Yahweh. Okay. When you call Adonai, you refer to him as being your master. You can say it, but you have to make sure that you're not saying it, you're calling him by title. You're calling him by his name, which is Yohe-Wahe, Yahweh. Then you can call Yahweh your master. He's your Adonai. He's not your Adoni. See, this is where a lot of people get it messed up too, because they don't understand the order. Okay. So the Adonai is stronger than the Adoni. Okay. They share some of the same letters, right? They got the Aleph and the Dalet and the Nun, same thing. Okay. But this is the my, and this is the master of masters. Okay. What's your question? Who has a question? Let me see. I can't see it. Let me see here. I'll respond to it. Nowhere in Tanakh does it forbid us to pronouncing his name. No. Nowhere in the Tanakh. No. Absolutely. Nowhere in the Tanakh does it forbid us from pronouncing his name. No. Nowhere. There's nowhere in the Tanakh, and what Carabino is saying is there's nowhere that he never says, don't call me by this name. He's always getting honest about calling on his name without being just or being righteous, or calling on his name in falsehood, or swearing by his name falsely. So it's okay to call him or to refer to him as my master of masters. But you need to know the difference between the lowercase and the uppercase. The uppercase is saying, call me by my name. That's my point. Call me by my name. But when you call me by my name, you got to call it in righteousness and truth. Your life has to line up with this. Okay. Call me your master. I am your Adonai. If I am your Adonai, then you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to treat me like I'm your Adonai. Okay. It says, I longingly wait for Yahweh. He's not waiting for his masters of masters. He's waiting for Yahweh. I put my hope in his word. Everything in me waits for Adonai, master of masters. More than the guards on watch wait for morning. More than the guards on watch wait for morning. Why does it say that twice? Because anytime something's mentioned twice, is dealing with the sincerity of what he's saying. David is having a conversation with his own soul. He is talking to himself. He's murmuring to himself. And he's letting us know that everything in me, who's me? The soul. So his appetites, his desires, his emotions, they all have to be directed towards your master, the master of masters. You have to line everything up in your life with Yah. That's the reason why Yah is choosing him, because he's supposed to teach us that everything in us is supposed to be waiting for Yah. Then say to them that the supreme master, the master of masters, Yahweh says. So you'll see this. You'll see Adonai, and then you'll see the word God or something. You need to replace that. The lowercase means master of masters or supreme master, because he's the master of all masters. Says, I will take the people of Israel from among the nations where they have gone and gather them from every side and bring them back to their own land. Dawid is not going to do this. Yahweh is going to do it. They will never again defile themselves with their idols, their detestable things, or any of their transgressions. But I will save them from all the places where they've been living and sinning, and I will cleanse them so that they will be my people and I will be their Elohim. Not Dawid, Yah. They will live in the land I gave to Yaakov, my servant, where your ancestors lived. They will live there. That's where you're going to live. They, their children, and their grandchildren forever. And Dawid, my servant, will be their leader forever. See? I will make a covenant of peace with them, an everlasting covenant. I will give to them and increase their numbers and set my sanctuary among them forever. My home will be with them, and I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people. This is the same words that were used at the beginning of our Torah portion, where we found out that the Most High has a soul. Yes, Kamala. Yes.
Uh, 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 where there it specifically says that David will be the prince. It doesn't say anything about his seed or any of his descendants. This is the where a lot of people get it mixed up. They say, "Oh, it's not going to be David himself. It's going to be someone from his lineage."
Mm-hmm. No, it's going to be the soul. It's the soul of Dawid that's coming through his lineage. And my understanding is his name will be Dawid. And Yah is going to raise him up from among the exiles in chapter number 30 of Jeremiah. Mm-hmm. Now, the point here about I will be their Elohim and they will be my people were the first words that we read in our Torah portion at the beginning of our teaching today. Why is this important? Because now we understand that when the Most High says he's going to do this, he's saying now that your soul and my soul are going to be reunited together. Now I'm going to take pleasure in you because now you're in harmony with me. Now your soul and my soul are going to be bound with one another. I'm not going to be against you. There ain't going to be no more conflict. So anytime he says that my home will be with them and I will be their Elohim and they will be my people, he's saying that our souls are going to be in harmony together again. Because those that can't walk together, how can two walk together? How can two souls if they're not in agreement? So the individuals that hate the Most High and that are not listening to him and are defying him are not the people that are going to be walking with him. So if you want your destination to be with the Most High and you want to live with him and you want to be at peace with him, right, an everlasting peace, then you and I are, and our numbers to be increased, we're going to have to make sure that we put our soul in check. And our soul has to be one of service. So we commend everything to him, our desires, our appetites, our mindset, everything. We have to be trained by the Most High, right? So we're not in service right now. We're being trained. I just want to keep bringing this to everyone's attention because I know there's teachers out here that are telling you that Yah is not angry with you. And I want to clarify that. The Most High says that my face is turning against you. If Yah was not angry with us as a people, then we would be back in our land. Well, if he's angry, why is he training us? Because I want to see what you're going to do. I want to see if you're going to follow the instructions. And if you don't follow them, you won't be going back to the land. That's what it is. That's how simple it is. The nations will know that I'm Yahweh. Not that I'm Adonai, not that I'm Adoni, not that I'm God, not that I'm Elohim, not that I'm JC the Christ, not that I'm Yahweh Shai, not that I'm any of these other things. They're going to know that I'm Yahweh. See? Who sets Yisrael apart as Kadosh. Just like the fiery beings that are in the vision of Isaiah saying Kadosh, 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 being set apart. That means now that we've obtained a certain level of set apartness with the Most High when we are living with him. When my sanctuary is with them, that's when you'll know who Israel is. That's how you know who's been set apart. That's how you know that you're different from all the peoples. because he's going to give recognition to you among the people. I want them to see it. They will know that when they see it, not when they believe it, when they see it. So we're moving away from all this magic and all this belief, and we're going to things are actually going to be seen. Okay. Your Torah portion for this upcoming week is found in Genesis chapter number 47, verse number 28 through chapter number 50, verse number 26. Haftarah is 1 Kings, chapter number 1, verses 1 through 12. And your Psalms are going to be chapter numbers 29 all the way to chapter number 65. Shavua Tov.
Shavuot.
Shavua Tov. Let us not forget.
Can you put the Torah portions back up so I can write them down?
Oh, absolutely. My apologies. Let me leave that up for you. You did tell me that last time. Don't get mad at me. I hear it in your voice. I told you before, Akika. I told you, man. Look, all right, here it is. I'll be blasting through. Forgive me, you guys. Brother Q is right.
Hey, Kika, let me know when you stop recording.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, Kale.
Yeah, David, I just wanted to ask another question about like when souls pass away, like none of the souls that have passed away have come back, because like you're saying, like David's soul is going to come back, but are any of the other souls that have passed away in the past, do you think they have been recycled and have came back at all?
Yes, absolutely.
But if you say that our soul is attached to our mind, then when we come back, do we come back with our memories as well, or is it like erased in some type of way?
At this in particular, I won't say it's been erased. I said it's been hidden.
So it's like in our subconscious is where you're saying it is?
Yeah, it's something that Yah hasn't unlocked. When he says that you're blind and you don't know,
Okay.
or
So
Moses, he giving you eyes but you can't see, and ears but you still don't know. You still don't know.
So could it be that maybe David has came back, but it wasn't unlocked on him?
Back. He has a purpose. He's not coming back just to come back. So,
Okay.
for example, when it talks about when we leave this earth, we go back. That's the secret of the Torah. That's what the book of Numbers, what's his name? Balaam, he saw it. He saw what was going. He said, I want to die like these people. I want to die the death of the righteous, because he understood what was going on. So in Deuteronomy chapter number 30, the Most High said, I'm going to send you guys into exile. Well, that generation didn't go into exile. They went right into the land and they lived there and they died there. So why are they going in exile? Because it's the same individuals who went into that land are the same individuals that are in exile. We are recycled souls. See, so Yah, so when it talks about Yah being merciful, I want to be clear. When it talks about the Most High being merciful, what do you think that mercy is going towards? How, if it says he's long suffering, what does that mean?
It means that like you're saying, like the souls are getting recycled over and over, so it's like happening, like this constant thing of us not wanting to be with him is always happening to him. Like he's always remembering that his people still don't want to be there with him yet.
Listen to what you just said. If he wanted to destroy us, remember how many times he said, oh, just move out the way, I want to destroy him. So we haven't been doing what he says. And he told us, when I bring you back to the land, you're going to be ashamed of everything that you've done when you realize your disgusting practices. Our disgusting practices is not smoking a pack of cigarettes and getting drunk, right? Or having premarital sex. Your disgusting practices has to do with what you've been doing over all time. You're an eternal people.
So I don't know how long I've been recycled, but I could have been here like maybe, I don't know, for a very long time then, and same for everybody here.
Yeah, and it's like, so what do you do? So if he's telling us, hey, you need to say sorry for you and your ancestors' behavior. What do you mean? Why do I need to pray for my ancestors? I don't have nothing to do with them. He's given us insight. He's putting us up on it to let us know what it is. When you're in the land, when you are in the lands of your enemies, when did they go into the lands of their enemies? I'm not making this covenant with you who are standing here today, but those who are not standing here today. I haven't opened your eyes, but when I do open them, you're going to be ashamed. You're going to be disgusted with your behavior, because then the Most High is going to give us an account and show us everything that we have done. We've been here before. That's the only way that this makes sense. Other than that, it doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, he would have destroyed Israel a long time ago. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been a long-suffering Elohim. So yeah. Now, when he chooses to send, because when you didn't ask to come here, so you don't get to dispatch yourself, and you don't know when to come and you don't know when to leave. You're leaving and you're coming and going. So you might be the one over time to say, okay, well, maybe they'll get it right on this time. Because at this in particular moment, as I told everyone, this is the last time. This is the last time. He's not joking. There won't be where you guys going to come out and then you're going to do this again. No, 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 no. You've already done it. I'm done. He asked the question, how many times? How many times must I do this to you? How many times do we need to go over this again? He asked the question, where should I strike you next? Talking about the ox. He said, if I got to strike you again, I have to totally destroy you, because it won't be no remedy. So that can bother people. It can make them think, well, are you saying that we've been? Yeah, you've been here. That's the secret of the Torah. Otherwise, he would not be making this demand of you. Otherwise, how could he hold you responsible for something you never received? That would make him unjust. He's already spoken to us. He's already told us what it is. And he's not joking. This is the last time. When he says, I'm going to pay you and your ancestors back together, that's exactly what he means.
So David, the nation of Israel hasn't grown. It's been staying the same size this whole time then, right?
Yes, because he's saying that, look, you guys, and I want to show it to you, just so you'll know that I'm not making this up, okay? It's like, well, prove. Well, I told you, I don't say stuff without being able to prove it. So I'm going to prove it to you, because he's telling us very clearly that what I am going to do, I'm going to do this to you. This is your last time. This is the last time. If you don't get it on this one, what else? If we don't get it this time, what is there left to do? What does the Most High have to do? He's not bringing us out to the wilderness so we can have a kumbaya a moment. He's bringing us out there to judge us. This is the final deal. So in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 65, to be very, very clear, he says, I don't do anything without revealing to my servants, the prophets, what I'm going to do. Okay. So we're going to go to verse number. All right, here you go. 65. Let's just read verse 1. He says, I made myself accessible to those who didn't ask for me. Did you ask for the Most High? Yes? No? Did you seek him?
Not at first in my
Did he
life.
come?
It just
No.
came like I made that
It came
decision
to you.
to want to
Yeah, but he
want to know
came
him.
to you. Yeah, he came to you. I made myself accessible to those who didn't ask for me. I let myself be found of those who didn't seek me. I said, here I am, to a nation not called by my name. Well, what do you think he's talking about, the Gentiles? No, he's talking about Israel, because we've been scattered, so we don't have a name. We're not recognized as a people. I spread out my hands all day long to a rebellious people who live in a way that is not good, who follow their own inclinations, a people who provoke me to my face all the time. They're sacrificing in gardens and burning incense on bricks. They sit among the graves and spend their night in the caverns. They eat pig meat, and their pots hold soup made of disgusting things. How long do you think this has been going on? How long has Yah been calling out to his people? They say, keep your distance. Don't come near me. That's the nagash. That is to draw near to me. Remember our Torah portion is, and he drew near. Come near to me. Come close to me. Right? So he's saying, hey, they say, keep your distance. Don't come near me. Keeping distance, everyone, is hatred, because I'm holier than you. There is smoke in my nose, a fire that burns all day. Now, see, it is written before me, I will not be silent until I repay them. I'm going to repay them. I will repay them to the full your own crimes and those your ancestors together, says Yahweh. Now, question is, why is he waiting to pay them at the same time he's paying their ancestors? How is their ancestors being paid if they're no longer around? Because it's the same crimes that they have been doing through generation to generation. When it talks about your ancestors, literally just talking about the people that you use for a physical body, that they're part of your family. You've been going through those families all the whole time. I'm
Was
gonna
it like different versions of us?
Yes, you guys, when he's telling to ask for forgiveness for the crimes of your own crimes and those of your ancestors, why is he making you go back in time? Why is he saying that I need you to acknowledge their crimes? Is it because it's the same crimes? But I thought you said that the souls that belong to me, the children will pay for their own crimes. We just read it. He said, both the parent's life and the child, the soul that sinned against me is the one that's going to die. So why is he asking you to why is he paying you for your crimes and those of your ancestors together? Because they're the same crimes. They've just been done on different times. Says Yahweh, they offered incense on mountains and insulted me on the hills. First, I will measure out their wages and then repay them in full at the same time. Here's what Yahweh says. As when juice is found in a cluster of grapes. Okay, so the cluster of grapes. Why is he using a cluster of grapes? Because the grapes is like a family. It's like a family. It's a family of individuals, grapes. And people say, don't destroy it. Don't destroy what? The cluster. There is some good in it. So I will do likewise for the sake of my servants. Who is my servants? My servants are the ones who says that you are what? Adonai, you're the master of masters. I will follow what you say. I will do what you say. You're my master. I acknowledge you. I call you by your name. He says, for the sake of my servants, I will not destroy them all. So out of a cluster of grapes, you and I are just a grape out of the family that's going to get not destroyed because you decided to be a servant unto the Most High.
Hey,
You
David,
see?
I think that's why it's important that, like, when I had this conversation with you before, that we should not see ourselves as a body with a mind, but we are a mind with a body, because you said like we are an eternal people.
Yes.
So I see myself right now, because this is in my knowledge of being alive as a person right now, that I'm a Filipino person and you're an African American person, but you're not and I am not. Like, we're sons of the Most High. Like, we're an eternal people. Like, I could have looked different in the past when I was here, and so could have you.
That's
And
right.
like when I came back now and like I've met you, like I'm just going through it again. But when I pass away and I come back, like I hope that I would have made the changes that I could have made to yoke my soul to the Most High.
Because if you don't, the impact of what we've done, the impressions, that's why you got to be careful of the impressions. You know, you're in marketing. The moment, how many impressions you got to put on somebody before it starts sticking, it'll go to their soul. So he's telling us, if I don't make the certain impressions upon you, you don't have a different frequency, you're going to come back with the same stuff that you had before, and it's not going to be accepted. It's only a certain time. So when the Most High says that this is the end, this is the harvest time, Yah has planted. A lot of us on here are farmers and we deal in agriculture. So when you're planting something, you go through different seasons. It's the same plant. It's the same plant. You don't go and rip up the plant. It just dies off and then the leaves come off and then everything, and go through a season and then it's right there again. Then you might plant something different, but you have an expectation. You keep working with it. So when the Most High is talking about he's long suffering, he's been working with us for not just a few years. He's been working us for thousands of years. He's long suffering. You don't get nobody right on one time. This is not the first time. That's why he said you shouldn't take credit for it. Don't listen, you guys got me on one. Do not try to take credit.
Listen, let him show it to us so we can all understand today. You and I cannot take credit for nothing. And don't think that you and I, for some reason, accomplished this on our own. No. He tells us very clearly in chapter number 36 of Ezekiel, right before 37. Listen what he says. He says, human being, look, the word of Yahweh came to me. Where's it at? Right here. 16. The word of Yahweh came to me. Human being, when the house of Israel lived in their own land, they defiled it. Listen carefully. They defiled it by their manner of life and actions. Their way of life before me was like the uncleanness of Anita. Therefore, I poured out my fury on them because of the blood they have shed in the land and because they defiled it with their idols. I scattered them. Who? The people that were in the land among the nations, and I dispersed them through all the countries. Right? I judged them in keeping with their manner of life and actions. And when they came to the nations where they were going, talking about Israel, they profaned my holy name. So that the people said to them, these are Yahweh's people who have been exiled from his land. But I'm concerned about my set apart name, my Kadosh name, my reputation. That's his name, Yohei-Wahe, which the house of Israel is profaning among the nations where they have gone. Still talking about us as the nation of Israel. Therefore, tell the house of Israel, not the house of Judah, not the house of Ephraim, tell the house of Israel that the supreme master, Yahweh Elohim, says this, I am not going to do this for your sake, house of Israel, but for the sake of my holy name, which you have been profaning among the nations where you went. I will set apart my great name to be regarded as Kadosh, holy and set apart, since it has been profaned in the nations. You profaned it. Who are you talking to? Israel. Among them, the nations will know that I am Yahweh, says the Supreme Master Yahweh, when, even here in this Elohim right here, it's really Yahweh, people. Before their eyes, before their eyes, before their eyes, I am set apart through you. Who's you? House of Israel, that got sent out of Israel to be regarded as holy, to be regarded as set apart. I will take you, Israel, from among the nations and gather you from all the countries and return you to your own soil. You understand? That's what I'm going to do. I will sprinkle clean water on you and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your uncleanness and from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit inside of you, and I will take the stony heart out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh, and I will put my spirit inside of you and cause you to live by my laws and respect my rulings and obey them. You will live in the land I gave to your ancestors. You will be my people and I will be your God. I will save you from all your uncleanliness. I will summon the grain and increase it, and not send famine against you. I will multiply the yield of the fruit from the trees and increase the production in the fields. He's doing it. So that you will never again suffer reproach of famine among the nations, which you and I are about to go into. Then you will remember your evil ways. Then you will remember your evil ways. What evil ways? House of Israel? He didn't say you're going to remember evil ways of your ancestors. You're going to remember your evil ways and your actions that were not good as you look at yourselves. And you will hate yourselves for the guilt and your disgusting practices that you did when you were in your own land. That's why you're going to hate yourself. When you talk about love yourselves, you're going to feel guilt. You're not going to feel guilt for what you've done in the nations. You're going to feel guilt because when you were back in the land, going back up here to 17 again, human being, when the house of Israel lived in their own land, they defiled it. That's what you're going to feel guilty about, is your manner of life and actions, that when you did live in the land, you lived this way, and he's going to show it to us. That's the secret of the Torah, people. You have been here before. Understand, says the Supreme Master, I am not doing this. 32, I am not doing this. I am not doing this for your sake. Instead, be ashamed and be dismayed for your ways, house of Israel. You see? That's what he's talking about. You cannot be ashamed. You cannot be dismayed about your ways that you were in the nations. I didn't send you out because of the way you're behaving in the nations. I sent you out because of the way that you behave in the land that I gave to you. Then when I bring you back and I restore everything, you're going to look back and say, we had this before, but we didn't respect him. We didn't treat him as our master. We didn't say that you're our master. We were calling the names of Balaam. So the Most High sent us out of our land to come to a land, so you and I would call on the names of these other gods and then make a decision about whether or not you're going to remember me among the nations. You decided you want me to be your master, just like Yehuda had to make sure that he was willing to be a servant to Joseph without even realizing who he was. Joseph tested him to find out and examine them to see whether or not they were being righteous. To find out if they're going to be kanim, if they're going to be upright, if they're established in their ways, or they're going to keep going back and forth and vacillating between two opinions about whether or not I'm the Elohim or not. Am I Yahweh or not? Am I your master or not? Am I your husband or not? Do I handle all your cases? Yes or no? Do you fear the Most High? Or are you playing a game? Are you just talking? Do we fear him? Are you willing to take his side when it comes down to it? Are you willing to cross that line and say, I'm with Yah? What is it? We don't want that. We don't want to tell people the way it is. We're so concerned about losing relationships with people that we can't even see that we ourselves need to make a decision that has nothing to do with that individual. Go ahead, Kale.
Yeah, David, it's true. It's actually because you know how I told you how my mom is going through cancer right now.
Yes.
So my sisters have come like to visit her more often, and it's come to the point where I'm talking to them about these things. And I'm telling them, like, I care about you guys. Like, you know, you guys used to care about me when I was in the Christian way, telling me that, like, when I died, I would go to hell because I didn't accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And then now I'm coming back to them and be like, you know, this is coming back around to you guys now because I care about you and I really want us to move forward. Like, as I see how you say, like, we need to wake up and realize what we're doing is wrong. And, like, I'm sick of it. Like, we need to change how we think. Like, they don't want to change their ways, but I'm trying to really put it on them. Like, because like we can't really get to the next level if we don't collectively all want to go there, right? So
How can two walk together unless they be in agreement?
so I'm really bringing it up to them, really trying to understand like how you talk, because the way that you speak is like how I need to be able to speak to them too, because if you go to a Christian person or any person of any religion really, if they can stop you and you can't continue the conversation and you can't back yourself up on like why you believe what you believe and why things are the way they're supposed to be, then it's really hard to make them understand why they should change or why what they're doing is wrong.
Listen, I'm with you. I had a conversation with my brother last night. Okay. After my father died, we've been reaching out to each other. I, help him, I console him and all these things. I finally had the courage after all these years to say to him point blank, do you fear the Most High? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, obviously you don't fear him because you're not doing what he's asked you to do. He goes, well, I want some time to think about it. I said, well, who are you to think about anything? It's putting right in front of you. If you admire me and you have the desire to want me to be around you and you want some of the resources and the attention and the counsel, from my God. See, my Elohim, right? You can't have access to that because you're having access to me. I'm his servant. And you're showing me that you're not willing to serve him. So you're serving what you serve, and I serve what there's a disconnect here. So we got to figure something out. So the bottom line is those who abandon the Torah and won't even listen to it is Most High says they're disgusting to me. They're an abomination to me. So I put a divider between us. And I told him, and I have the courage to say it. You're an enemy of the Most High because you're defying him and you're going against what he says, and he's the king of the universe. Just imagine if the sun was to defy the Most High and not move incrementally across the sky. We'll be in trouble. See? So you're an enemy of the Most High. He didn't deny it. And I said, you're an enemy. And I said, I know this. And because you're his enemy, I have to make you an enemy. Now you've crossed the line. I have to consider you an enemy. You're still my brother, but you're an enemy now. So there's hostility there. I like it. I like to know that you hate him. I just told him. So for somebody that's fresh, they don't know, that's different. I'm talking about somebody I've been talking to for years. So if I'm tired of talking. If you're gonna with him, then you're with him. If you're not, you're not. But you're not gonna have the best of both worlds. You're not gonna be around me and get all this kind of stuff and all this information and finances and help, and you're not willing to do what he asked you to do. I'm not gonna help the people that hate my creator. I'm not gonna do that. That's just me. I'm not gonna do it. You see? So that's where it's gonna come down to. And the Most High is giving us the power to say that. Because if someone hates him, they hate him. If they're his enemy, they're enemy. The king has spoken. If the king sends out a message, and then we as his inhabitants on his earth, and he tells us, hey, this is what it is, and he gives us a command, and any king, and we don't respond to the message, the king says, that's it. He said, well, you're kind of scaring me. You're making it either life or death. It is. He said, well, I don't know if I feel good about that. So, well, that's not my problem. Because that's what it is. It's fear. And if we don't fear the Most High, and we don't know, and we want to approach him like he's just some ordinary man, then you have some problems. So the Most High has been very clear. When you tell people what I said, you tell them that if you go against me, I'm going to kill you. People hate that. They don't want to serve a God that would kill me. Then that's fine. You're going to find out. Because what I'm talking about is not just you're going to die. What I'm talking about is you're going to be eradicated out of the pool of souls. He's not going to allow you to come forward. So if you cut off a person and for them to be here, then you'll cut off that soul so they can't reproduce. It's like a plant. You got same plants, same soil, same sunlight, same water, same nutrients, same everything. One plant goes straight and the other one goes crooked. You try your best to work with the crooked one to make it straight, but it just doesn't want to go straight. It's not bearing any fruit or nothing. What's the purpose of keeping that plant? There's no reason. See? So I've discovered that we got to stop playing with people and giving them a false sense of hope and security, like everything's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. Tell them what he has said. He doesn't say, Ezekiel, go back and Ezekiel, tell the people that I said this. He doesn't tell Ezekiel that. He doesn't say that to him. He tells Ezekiel something very candid, okay? He tells him that, listen, if I told you to go tell somebody something and you don't, I'm going to hold you responsible. I'm going to hold you responsible. I'm going to hold you responsible. I'm going to hold you responsible because I called you to tell it. And he said, human being, I'm the one who called you to tell these people. If I told you to go tell the wicked person that they did something and you don't go ahead and you tell them, then I'm going to hold you responsible. Where's it at? Let me show it to you so you won't think I'm making it up. So you would say, well, you know what, Akika, I think you're being a little too much. I think you're taking it too far. I think you've gone crazy. I don't know what it is. What makes you think it's okay to say that? Because he called him to be a watchman. He called him to go to the people of Israel and to tell them and to let them know what it is. And if they're not going to listen, there you go, chapter number 3. If you and I are not going to listen, then he says, then guess what? I'm going to hold you responsible. So the call for us is when you tell someone that they're wicked, they don't like to hear that. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. Listen, Yah goes in, look, he's telling people that they need to listen to him, right? So he's sending Ezekiel, chapter number 3, verse number 7. He said, look, I can send you, I'm just going to give you a little recap. I can send you to someone with a difficult language. Verse number 6. To many people, it's difficult languages, unintelligible speech, whose words you can't understand. When they hear them, right, when you hear them, without doubt, if I sent you to them, they would listen to you, right? But the house of Israel will not be willing to listen to you because they aren't willing to listen to me. Since all the house of Israel are obstinate and hard-hearted, all of us, not just my brother, not just your sisters, not just my uncles, all of us. However, I'm making you as defiant and obstinate as they are. That's right. I'll tell you straight to your face. Yes, I'm not making your resoluteness. Yes, I'm making your resoluteness harder than flint, as hard as a diamond, so you won't be afraid of them or depressed by how they look at you because they are a rebellious house. Then he said to me, human being, receive in your heart and hear with your ears all the words that I speak to you. Then go to the exiles, your countrymen, and speak to them and tell them, here is what the Supreme Master Yahweh says, whether they listen or not. Okay, so that was it. Here you go. 17, 16. After 7 days, the word of Yahweh came to me. 17. Human being, I've appointed you to be a watchman for the house of Israel. When you hear a word from my mouth, you are to warn them for me. If I say to a wicked person that you will certainly die, and you fail to warn him to speak and to warn the wicked person to leave his wicked way and save his life, then that wicked person shall die guilty, and I will hold you responsible for his death. On the other hand, if you warn the wicked person and he doesn't turn from his wickedness or his wicked way, then he will still die guilty, but you have saved your own life. Similarly, when a righteous person turns away from his righteousness and commits wickedness, I will place a stumbling block before him. He will die. Because you failed to warn him, he will die in his sin. His righteous acts which he did will not be remembered, and I will hold you responsible for his death. But if you warn the righteous person that a righteous person should not sin, and he doesn't sin, then he will certainly live because he took the warning, and you too will have saved your life. Do you understand? So, Akika, I'm not a prophet. He said human being. Human being. If you see that a person is wicked, it is your responsibility to open your mouth and tell them, if the Most High, if they're around in your circumference, and if they're in your world, and you sit there and you act like what they're doing is right, you ain't say nothing. I told my brother, what you're doing is wicked. I was wicked. And I can turn from my righteousness right now and be wicked if I chose to. I don't choose to be. So it's coming down to that. Yes, Kel.
So does the fact that we are all still here right now mean that we took the warning somehow in our past, like in our past lives that we know we had?
Maybe, maybe not. He's saying that now that you're in this time and I revealed myself to you, which he revealed his name to us, no one else has, he has. Now you have a choice, because what goes along with that name goes with law, statutes, and commandments and listening to his voice. That's what you and I are doing. Over time, we may have not been so willing, but he's been very long suffering and patient with us. So yes, over time, he's been talking to us time and time and time again. But if you notice, he says that once you go past a certain point, that's it. That's it. You can't keep going back and forth. So up to this point, you and I have been wicked. That's what he's telling us. We've been wicked up to this point until we decided to turn to the laws and statutes and commandments, which then causes us to be righteous. So now you've decided to turn to righteousness. But if you and I decide to abandon righteousness today and say, I'm not going to do it no more, I'm going to commit an act that's going against the Most High, I'm going to deliberately break the Shabbat knowing that it is the Shabbat. Akika, you're putting too much on us. You're being too religious. No, I'm telling you. That's our Elohim. That's our master. He's not human. He's not a human being. He's merciful. His mercy is revealing itself to us through his laws and statutes and commandments. So you have to make that decision. You have to live in the reality. This is not a religion. This is reality. That's what he's talking about. Nothing else. If you don't get it this time, you're not going to get it. Those who hate Yah need to be told that you're wicked. Because we are looking for harmony, Kel. We're looking for in our families. If someone's not willing to be if they want to be part of your family, just listen to me very carefully. When the children of Israel got to the point where they had 2 years left and they were going to starve to death, if they didn't come righteousness, if they didn't come with a righteous attitude and say, hey, we decide we're changing our behavior, and they weren't willing to stick up for their brother, and they didn't have what Joseph was looking for, they would have starved to death. That was all by Yah's hand. So when things get real tough, because they're going to, when I told you that the Most High is bringing famine, what goes along with famine, everyone, is for the whole entire system to collapse. So the whole entire financial system is going to collapse too. It ain't just your bread supply. The financial system is going to collapse. Do you understand? And if you and I are not righteous and we're not following what Yah says, there won't be any way for anybody to survive. This is the only way that Yah is going to prove that he is who he says he is. That's why he give us these examples. When the children of Israel didn't have no food, he gave them food. Just like he said, when they had no water, he gave them water. He's letting you know that your reliance and your dependence should not be on people or a government that can't save you. So when you got people in your life that you're entertaining, and they're entertaining you and everything's cool, you know, they live the way that they live and you live the way that you live and everything's separate. So we're doing well. The moment that they try to come into your life and be close to you, I'm telling them, this is what I'm doing. When this collapse happened, I'm going to be like Joseph to my family. But the only family I'm going to be that like Joseph to is the individuals who are Kanim. The individuals who are willing to bow down to Yah. That's the only people that I'm going to help, is the ones who are willing to help to follow Yah. Because you're not going to benefit off of my Elohim when you're not willing to change your ways and admit that you're wrong. Who are we to tell Yah that we got to wait to think about serving Yah? Who do we think we are? Dawid has said, what is man that you're mindful of him? Why do you even consider him? Why would Yah take so much time with us? Yah's doing us a solid. He's doing us a favor. And we're acting like we're doing him a favor because we keep the Shabbat or we keep the laws. He said, you should be ashamed of yourself. Who do these people think they are to think that when the Most High come to them and say, I'm Yahweh, they say, well, not right now. Who do they think they are? The one who provides food and shelter and clothing for everybody, and now you're not going to serve the Most High. I don't have to try to convince you to serve him, but I guarantee you one thing. When the famine comes and the financial collapse happens, if you don't serve Yah, you gets none from me. You're not going to get nothing. You know why? Because you've been warned and I told you. And you don't want to. Now we want to serve Yah. Go back to the ark. The water's here, so now we want to get in the ark. Now you want to do it. Now you want to be righteous now that the Most High has rained down fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. Now you want to be righteous? Now you want it? Don't work like that. Once the judgment is set in place, it happens. Those people who want to follow the Most High, help them. Don't help people who not hate Yah. It's that clear. Levitical priests had made a decision. Moses said, I'm drawing a line in the sand today. If you're on Yahweh's side, get on his side. If not, stay over there. The Levites, that family jumped on Yah's side. So you got to figure out whose side you're on. You're going to lose family members, period. You're going to lose your parents. You're going to lose everybody. You're going to lose your friends. Some people have lost their wives and their husbands. Yes, Renee.
Oh, Shabbat Shalom. Quick question. So the scripture about, which I was recently talking to some of my sisters about, that everyone dies for their own sins. But speaking about, I think, is it Koroth, the Kohanim that was going against Moses, and then because they had to separate themselves, or Moses had to separate themselves from them, the Most High passed judgment on them and their family because they were going against Moses. And then there's other instances where it's like King David and Bathsheba, the son that they produced after he sinned against Uriah. So we were just talking about when it says everyone dies for their own sins, is that more so the soul, or is it more the physical death?
It's the soul. It's the soul. Because okay, so for example, the child's soul didn't sin against the Most High.
Right.
Right? But the only reason when that child died is because in the Hebrew scriptures it said David had pronounced a curse on the man. Whoever did this, he unknowingly spoke and swore in Yahweh's name that child is going to have to die because he already pronounced it. He said, let the man who did this, let his son die. In English, it doesn't say that. In Hebrew, it says the son of this man. So he pronounced that in Yah's name. Just like the man who vowed and said, if you give me the victory, the first thing coming out my door, let it be unalive for you. When you say something in Yah's name, look, we do not get this, okay? Because we've been taught, been dumbed down. We are dealing, okay, with a power, okay, that can never be seen, okay, that decided that I want to have a relationship with this group of people, okay? The group of people that he decided to have this relationship with, they have heard him speak to them. And because they heard it, they're going to be held accountable and responsible. You say, I wasn't there. I got to tell you something. You were there. You're in a covenant. You are already there. That's why he's holding us responsible. He says, you're the only people that I know. He says it in Amos chapter number 3. Of all the families of the earth, you're the only people that I know. He didn't know just Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He know us. We're the descendants. Y'all didn't come to know us when we were born through our mothers. I've always known you. Like he told Jeremiah, I knew you before I formed you in the womb. David said in 139, when I was being shaped and molded, you knew me.
Wow, that makes so much sense now that you say it like that.
You've always known me. When you formed me in the womb, you know me. You knit my bones together. You fashioned me. You wrote out all my days in a book. They were already done before it even happened. You have been here before. You ain't brand new to the Most High. Yah knows you and I. He knows every single thing about us. There's nothing that be hidden from him. Akika, you lost your mind. You're going crazy. No, I'm telling you what it is. This is the reason why we should read and study, because in 39, look what he says. Can you see my screen? Yahweh, You have probed me. You know me. You know when I sit, when I stand, you discern my inclinations afar off. You scrutinize my daily activities. You are so familiar with all my ways that before I speak even a word, Yahweh, you know all about it already. You have hemmed me in, right? You hemmed me in both behind and in front. You laid your hand on me. Such wonderful knowledge is beyond me, far too high for me to reach. Where can I go to escape your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I climb up to heaven, you are there. If I lie down in Sheol, you are there. If I fly away with the wings of the dawn and land beyond the sea, even there, your hand would lead me. Your right hand would hold me fast. If I say, let darkness surround me and let the light around me be night, even darkness like this is too dark for you. Rather, night is as clear as day. Darkness and light are the same. For you fashioned my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I thank you because I'm awesomely made. Wonderfully, your works are wonders. I know this very well. My bones were not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes could see me as an embryo. But in your book, all my days were already written. My days have been shaped before any of them ever existed. So, what? They all exist. He knows about every detail. Your life has been written down in his book. I know who you're going to marry. I know how many children you're going to have. I know what kind of work you're going to do. I know it all. Your Torah portion talks about Yahweh has done this. Joseph said it. That's what it is. Sorry for keeping you. No cahoots today. I'm going to let you go. I'm just telling you, don't play no games with Yah. If you love him, serve him. Well, I thought you'd say we're not in service. Well, you better figure out how to be a good servant. You better figure out how to be faithful. You better figure out what you need to do. You better stop playing games and acting like, ain't nothing going to happen. You better tell people the truth. If you love them, you're going to tell them, because guess what? When you get to the wilderness, it ain't going to be no time for talking. So when they're standing next to you and your family and they never heard a word from you, not a peep, when you get to the wilderness, they're going to look at you and say, why haven't you ever told me? I don't know. You didn't want to hear it. At least out of love, you can correct them. You help them. Tell them, y'all expect this from us. I'm not a missionary. I'm not trying to change you or get you to believe anything. I'm trying to tell you that when I have the time to tell you, I can tell you, let me make that impression upon you. Let me make that impact on your soul so you can't say that you weren't told. Because you were told. And it's our responsibility to tell.
David, I would use that verse, that Psalms 139, or what is it? Was 136?
139.
139. I would bring that to them and be like, the reason why I'm telling you is because it says I have to tell you here, because I'm trying to save myself and I'm trying to save you as well.
Yeah, it's what it is. Yah knows. The other one was Ezekiel chapter number 3, where he says, this is what, as a human being, I have a responsibility to tell you what the Creator expects. So I love you. So that's the only reason I told my brother, I love you. But you made yourself an enemy. And you choose to stay an enemy. So now that you've made yourself his enemy, you're my enemy now. He said, what? I said, yeah, you're my enemy. Don't ask me for nothing. We're not going to sit down and have dinner no more. None of that's going to happen no more. Why? Because you don't respect my Creator. I'm not going to entertain you. You understand? That's what's going to happen. And I'll say this to anybody in my family because I don't care. Because the bottom line is they can't save me. They can't. And Yah's ways are not hard and they're not difficult. This is not a religion, people. This is the way that we live our life. Yes, Eve.
Akika, thank you so much for the message today. It really is an eye-opener. I just wanted to ask, with regards to having to speak to family members who are the male figure in the home, and as a woman, how can one approach it? Because it's very difficult for a woman to speak to a man about these things.
It
So,
could be.
what would be your advice?
It could be, but women are very persuasive, right? It can be. It's in humility. I would say with a high. Listen, if I was a woman, and I'm not, but if I was one, and from what I know, I'll give you the secret to a man. If the woman shows the man that she honors him in his position, in his role, and that she loves him, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing information with you. I'm not commanding you. You're the head. You're the decision maker. We follow everything that you say, right? But this is what I see. I see this, and I want to share with you, and I want to know what your thoughts are. And then you leave it alone.
Mm.
Man is more, he's more concerned. He's not less concerned with his love than he is for respect. You show me respect, that tells me that you love me. So show me the respect. Let me know that you know that I'm the one. I'm in charge. This is the way it is. Not that I'm ruling over you with a strong arm. I'm the decision maker for this household. I'm the protector. You're not. I am. You're supposed to protect me. Get what I'm saying? You're doing that out of protect the home. You're doing it to protect him. So I see something and I want to share it with you. That's what a wife is supposed to do. She's supposed to be a reflection of her husband, to see things that he can't see and come and try to give him counsel, to say, this is what I see. Can I sit down and talk with you? This is what I see. This is what I've discovered. What are your thoughts? And he'll say, well, let me look at it, if he's wise. You see?
Yes.
Because that's just like Abigail when she went back to her husband after he was talking crazy to David's men. And she said, she came back and told him what was going to happen to him. And he died because when he heard it, he had a heart attack. So it's not like a wife can't go talk to her husband. She has to wait for the right time. Remember, he was getting drunk that night. She didn't say nothing that night. She waited till the next night. She waited. She had wisdom. She waited till the next day to talk to him. You see? So it's all in timing. Yeah. So use your timing properly and be humble with it and out of love. Yeah, and respect. And that's what it is. Take them out to dinner. Don't do it at home. Let's go out to dinner. Get a
I'm
neutral
thinking more
environment.
my father actually. My father and my
Yeah. Oh, your father?
my father, yes. Yes, it's very difficult to have this sort of conversation on grounds that he's much obviously older than me, and he's got more life experiences and things like that. And
Yeah.
although we don't live in the same country, it's having this conversation is really very tricky because I'm seen as his daughter, and I'm also
Yeah.
thinking even with my kids, I call them like my children, the ones that are approaching adolescent stages. I It's difficult to kind of, and I know we've talked about this a few times. I'm thinking I need to change tact and change my approach. And am I supposed to be humble when speaking to my children, or am I supposed to be firm? It's difficult to kind of really know exactly how to approach it because I really want them to see it
Yeah.
from Ya's perspective, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it the right way. So I'm seeking your wisdom on this.
Well, that's good because the thing is that I know that my approach is do or die. That's my approach. Like that's what it is. And a lot of people don't like that. They don't like that, right? So, you're going to have different approaches, but you have to tell people the truth, you know? I mean, I dealt with my siblings in the way that I'm dealing with them because I know that I've known them all my lives and I know their activities and I know what it is. And I have enough confidence to do that. But I also know how to talk to other people too. So, with your dad, we're not, this is what the thing is too, that I had to learn. The fathers and the mothers are the ones supposed to teach the children.
Correct.
You can't teach your father. That's against the Torah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. You can't teach him. That's not your job. That goes outside of the Torah. There's no Torah that says, hey, what do I do to teach my father and my mother? No. You're supposed to honor your father and mother. You can share information, but you're not there to teach because that would be considered disrespect.
Yeah. Well, yes, it's like I've got to listen to. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. We're not, there's no Torah on teaching your parents. It's actually the parents are supposed to teach the children. So if we were to do it the other way, that would be disrespectful. So we don't want to do that. You don't want to teach your parents. You want to probably make mention of it and see what their thoughts are, right? But don't worry about it. That's
What
it is.
what about your grandfather or your grandmother?
Same thing.
It's same thing. I just want to be sure because they are older, and
Yeah.
this I can't. I feel uncomfortable trying to talk to them about stuff
Yeah.
so okay, I just want to be sure.
Yeah, but whether they get, because more than likely they're not going to have the desire to want to learn and because it's a lot of learning and they don't want to, they've already set, right? So the plant, it's like trying to get a older plant that's been around seasoning a tree for a long time to start doing something differently. Let's think about agriculture when we're talking about this. See, so you got to get it while they're young. So that's the reason why we're supposed to teach our children is because we're talking to give it the information to someone who's going to be receptive, that have a certain, growth pattern. So they're at a different time in their life. And for that which fell off the tree to tell the tree what to do is not going to work.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're just
I
the
got
branch.
you.
Yeah, you're just the tree was holding the branch. You're the branch trying to tell the tree what to do. And the tree's like, you came off of me. How dare you say anything to me?
Okay.
Kale, what's up?
I just wanted to say this with everybody here that like when talking to family members about this, like sisters and brothers, it's best to like I feel like find another connection with them, like with something about children or something you can connect to them outside of the Torah that leads to that genuine type of love that you would want to just share with them, like what happens to them after life, because they would know that you care about them as just like a person